My name is Anthony Naranja. I'm the captain of the U.S. fly fishing team. I've been captain of the U.S. team since 2005. A little history on the team is the U.S. team's been around actually since 1981, and from that point on, the first World Championships that the U.S. team competed in was in 1988 in Tasmania, Australia. From that point, the history of competitive fly fishing in the United States has been pretty small. And it wasn't really until the early 2000s, 2002, 2003, when we started seeing more competition angling happening in the United States with the ESPN Great Outdoor Games, with the Fly Fishing Masters. The U.S. team started looking to those that had more of a competitive mindset. In the early years between 81 and 2000, basically most people got involved if you knew the right people. It was kind of a gentleman's group of people that if you knew the right person, if you had enough money, they might ask you to come to a world championship and participate. Since that time frame, we've instilled more of a competition circuit. We've had a regional system that's been in place leading up to a U.S. national championship. In the last couple years, we've also implemented a point system in order to make the U.S. team. It's the top 15 point getters within that point system, so as they compete through the regional qualifiers, get themselves to a national championship, that's how the U.S. team is now currently picked. So we've gotten more and more competitive over the years. The opportunity to be on this team has gotten to be where you fish your way on. You don't just get picked to come on this team, and so the amount of competition, the amount of quality of our anglers coming from the U.S. team now are much more competitive. In those recent probably 5, 6, 7 years, the U.S. team has now entered into that top 10 international competitive team. And so as time has gone on, of course the Central Europeans have dominated this sport, much like U.S. skiing has been, but the U.S. team is getting more and more competitive as we enter in more competitions, more opportunities for our guys to get into that competitive mindset. The competitive fly angler in the United States just has not had the experience that the Central Europeans had, and from that mentality, in that transition, and in that transparency of being able to get into different competitions, all of a sudden our guys are getting better and better at competition.
And how does one go about becoming or finding out about all the qualifiers to make the team?
The way right now, as far as to make the U.S. team, there's a series of things that has to happen, and to start that process, obviously understanding the rules and the formats for competitive fly fishing is probably the number one key. As a newcomer to competitive angling, I think the best thing that you can do is understand the rules, because the last thing you want to happen is whether that's a penalty because a fish won't count, or something happens that you do catch fish and you're not able to score those because of not understanding the rules. So I think go and understand the rules. You can do that at the FIPSMOOSH website, which our governing body is called FIPSMOOSH, and you can go to their website online and print all the rules out and understand how to fish in this format. The second thing would be to go to our website, which is flyfishingteamusa.com, and you can start to understand when and where the circuit of competitions will be. Again, in order to make this team, you have to score enough points throughout the regional qualifiers and the national championships to be able to make the team. In order to make a qualifier throughout the region, there's qualifiers throughout the region. Within this year, we hope to have at least 10 regional qualifiers within the next year or two. And get yourself into one of those regionals. Look for those locations that are close to your home, or if not, just go wherever you can go and compete in those regionals. The point system is the higher you score, of course, the better points you get. The top 30% within a tournament, of course, will garnish most of the points. So you'll want to finish in the top 30% to score higher. And it's those top 5 individuals that score at each regional that will be invited to the U.S. National Championships. And then, of course, the U.S. National Championships will have a much higher point total. So the higher you finish there, then, of course, that cumulative point total will put you on the team. So I think the easiest thing is understanding the rules, and then going and find yourself to flyfishingteamusa.com and get yourself to a regional, and hopefully we'll see you at a national championship.
And you just had a national championship in North Carolina. Tell us a little bit about that.
This year, for 2011, we had 5 regional qualifiers. Santa Fe, New Mexico was our Southwest regional. We had a Durango, Colorado, which was a Rocky Mountain regional qualifier. We had Bend, Oregon as the Western regional qualifier. Cherokee, North Carolina was our Southeast qualifier, and State College, Pennsylvania was our Northeast qualifier. That all led up to our U.S. National Championships, which were in Cherokee, North Carolina just a couple weeks ago. So we just picked a whole new U.S. team, and so for 2011-2012, we have 15 new team members. Well, I'm sorry, 7 new team members, but for the 15-man roster, and then a 5-man roster was picked for the World Championships to go to Italy this year.
And when is Italy?
The U.S. team that leaves for Italy, those are Lance Egan from Lehigh, Utah. It's Devin Olson from now Fort Collins, Colorado. Myself here from Denver, Colorado. Norman McTima from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And Lauren Williams from Syracuse, New York. We've got a couple practices this summer. You know, it's mid-June right now in Colorado, and so we've got a couple practices in July that we have scheduled. And then that team's going to depart here from Colorado. We'll be leaving around the 20th of August for those World Championships that will start around the 28th, 29th of August, moving in through the first part of September. So this year happens to be, the way the format goes is we have a World Championship every single year, similar to every other sport, whether that's gymnastics or basketball. They have a World Championships of that particular sport every single year. Our Olympic Games are every 5 years, and this is an Olympic year for us, so Italy itself will be what's called the Sport Fishing Games this year. And so there'll be about 12,000 anglers from fly fishing to offshore to spear fishing, carp, bass, you name it. There's anything that's in fishing itself will be in Florence, Italy for the opening ceremonies, and then all the particular venues will then split off to go to their particular venue, whether that's in, for us it's in Bolzano, Italy, which is in the northern Italian Alps. The offshore guys will of course go into the ocean, and then the course and the bass guys will be in inland venues. And so we're looking forward to a big World Angling Games for the United States this year. We look forward to seeing some of the other types of programs, bass and spearfishing, as we've met them before in the Portugal World Games.
And what sets the Team USA guys apart from your average angler out on the river?
You know, I think the one thing, and I get this question all the time, whether it's, you know, why are the U.S. team guys so difficult to beat? And, you know, not only are they fishing a lot, most of these guys are probably fishing 2-3 times a week, if not more than that. They're working on everything from not only hooking fish, but working on fly patterns, working on hooks, working on nets, working on landing rate, working on set rate. There's so many things to this. But as captain of the U.S. team, my job is to go and find competitive anglers. And I'll tell you the difference that I see between guys that typically make the U.S. team and guys that are close and guys that really aren't there at this particular point is 90% of this game is mental. We all know that we have some very, very great anglers in America. But the one thing that we don't have is experience. We don't have the competitive experience. And you're looking at a team that right now, you know, again, for myself, if I've got 7 World Championships under my belt, but you're competing against guys across the international circuit that are there. This is their 10th, 12th time, but they've also got guys that are teaching their youth and teaching the guys who are up and coming the techniques and the mental stability to be able to get that. And what you're seeing in this new U.S. team is we now have a very legitimate coaching staff, guys that have been to the World Championships, know what it takes, know what the mental toughness that it takes, and then we're bringing on other people within their fields that have been very, very dominant in their particular sports. People like Coach Bobby Knight. Coach Bobby Knight's been to the Olympic Games. He's won NCAA Final Fours. He's the winningest coach in NCAA basketball, but he's an avid fly fisherman. He's a guy that can really teach and help motivate our guys to get to the mental state that it's going to take for us to get on the medal stand at the world level.
You feel like your odds are pretty good to make it to the up on the pedestal?
You know, I think 6 years ago, Jack Dennis asked me to help put together teams that were going to be competitive. And knowing that I was a competitor myself, I knew that what it was going to take was going to be experience. At that time, none of us really had any coaches. We didn't have anyone that could teach us these techniques. There's no videos, there's no things out there, and we learned this all on our own. But by doing that, we've developed our own skills. We've developed not the Czech style or the French style, but we've developed our own style to go and have the confidence and go and be a force at the world level. Can I answer the question and predict that we'll be on the medal stand? I think we're getting closer and closer every year. I think our guys are gaining the experience, but they're also building the confidence to know that, hey, we belong at this level. You look before 2004, 2003. Our finishes were in the mid-teens when there was only 24 countries that were sanctioned to compete. We now have close to 40 countries that are sanctioned to compete, and we're consistently finishing in the top 10. So hopefully, as time goes on and as the guys get more and more stable and mentally strong, we know that our chances are getting better and better. The one difficulty that we always face is this is on foreign water for us. We're going over to Italy, we're going to Central Europe, where these guys can fish this water day in and day out up to the 60-day time frame. Our guys, we're going to show up there a week early thinking that, how competitive can we be if we're going to try to compete with guys that can fish there year-round? You and I both know we've got home waters that we fish. I don't anticipate that I could come to your home water and beat you on that. I'm going to try to be as competitive as I can, and that's where we're going to try to hold our ground. Our goal certainly is to finish in the top 5. If we can get to the medal stand, we're going to be more than content with that. But certainly we're going to have to do our best just to try to compete on foreign soil. Getting over there, getting accustomed to the time changes, the fisheries that they've got there. We're hoping that a week to 10 days of practice before the championships is going to be enough time for us to be able to be competitive for sure.
And for your average angler going out and wanting to start to try to be competitive in fly fishing, what are they going to go out and try to practice doing?
One of the things that I tell people, if they're going to try to come out, they understand the rules, they understand how this works, is go to waters and fish waters. Not that, one of the most spoiling things that we have here in the States is that we've got so much water to be able to go and fish. You can walk hole after hole. Here we're on the South Platte in the middle of Denver, and yet we still have 5-6 holes here that we can fish through. What it's going to take to be competitive in an international type of competition is going in and plopping yourself in maybe a 50-yard section of water and only fishing that section of water all day long. Try to catch as many fish that you can in that 50-yard section of water. After you've done it, go do it again, and go do it again, and go do it again. And I think from that standpoint, the mental stability and the confidence that you'll garnish from that is not only are you catching the easy fish, but you're going to find a way to catch the hard fish as well, and fish that have been fished over very, very much. If that's not the alternative, find the most pressured water that you can find. Here in Colorado, again, the South Platte, the Big T, a lot of the front range waters that we have, go to those and fish after people have fished them. Don't go to water that hasn't been touched for a couple days, but go to water that gets pressured. And I think from that standpoint, put yourself on the clock. Give yourself 3 hours to fish, from 9 till noon and from 1 until 4 or 2 to 5, and make sure that you can fish in those type of constraints within those rules. Practice those. Put yourself in that role play. And hopefully when you get to a regional, when you get to a national championships, and if you get to a world championships, this is not a foreign game to you. This is like your backhand.
We're at it.
Sure. As far as teaching people, I think the one difference that myself and some of the U.S. team members that weren't able to have was that ability to learn from somebody else, learn from previous champions, learn from previous people that had the experience. What we're doing now, and what George Daniels, the coach of the U.S. team, and myself are doing, is we're putting together programs to help teach our youngsters, help teach the guys who want to get in, and put them through the regimen of things that we think is what it takes to make a championship caliber team. As we go through this, what you're going to see is a development of a company called Smile Creek Seminars. And Smile Creek itself, what we're doing is we're training not only different professionals and different people that want to learn these techniques, but you'll start to develop and see programs that what we'll do is people will be able to come to our camps and our clinics to be able to learn the techniques that both of us have utilized over the years. On top of that, then we'll put you through mental coaching and mental strategies of how do we put together our beat? How do we fish that? What's the strategy of coming to a beat 3 hours? What's the most efficient way to fish that? What's the game plan to put that together? And so we're going to help myself. I'm going to put 10 individuals through a program on a yearly basis that they'll apply to the program. we'll accept those particular individuals, and then we'll put them through the regionals, we'll put them through the nationals, and hopefully they'll earn a spot on the U.S. team. And that program you'll see in development here within the next year, whether that's with me or whether that's through George or some of the other U.S. team members, in hopes of developing a very, very competitive U.S. team for the future.
And how important is strategy in the whole thing?
Again, I think from a standpoint, 90% of this is mental. If I give you the tools, if I give you the abilities to say, you know what, in the first hour I want you to fish this, and this is how you're going to fish it, this is the approach, the game plan coming together before you get there, to me, is 90% of the battle. I think when you come to a national championship, when you come to a world championship, you've got to be as efficient as you can be in those 3 hours. If you're diddling around with trying to pick out what flies, if you're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I set my leader up? If you're spending 5 minutes running back to the bank to go get a different rod because you want to change gears, you know, that's 5 minutes of time that a Frenchman or a Czech could be picking off another fish, or maybe even a couple fish. So having a game plan and a strategy, put that timeline together, so when you get there, if I know that you fish that way and we fish the game plan for 3 hours and you only come up with so many fish, hey, I know at least you went with the game plan and you understand what it took to fish that. That's all we can ask as a U.S. team member. That's all we ask, that you're an ambassador to our sport, you're an ambassador to the country, and you have an ability to be able to take the information that the team gives you and be able to implement that in any particular type of scenario.
Well, Anthony, we wish you and the team the best of luck coming up here in Italy, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to bringing home something. Hopefully that's one of the 3 medals, top team finishes in the World Championships. And you can follow us on the web. You can follow us through SmileCreek.com. We'll be streaming video through that. We will have a camera crew there with us in Italy. We'll be doing podcasts from there, so hopefully you'll get daily updates at SmileCreek.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook as well at FlyFishingTeamUSA.com, which is going to direct you right to our Facebook page. And so hopefully we'll be able to report some very good news for everybody as we come back in early September.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, man.